Last Sunday I made the comment that every time I read the scriptures and study them, I learn something new, or some new different approach will pop out of the pages, or something that I will read will strike me that I've never heard before. And sure enough, that happened this week. One commentator on the lesson that you heard Ron read a few minutes ago said that whenever something critical or earth-shaking or just plain important to Jesus' mission happens in the Gospel of Mark, a woman is present. And today's lesson has more to it than a story about Jesus healing a child. Jesus was having what we all know now and then as a bad day. He was trying to get away from it all. He was seeking a moment of rest. Luke would say that he was also seeking some time just to be alone with God and in prayer. He had traveled to a place beyond what had been his normal sphere of work to get away from it all. He was like Evansville folk going down to the land between the lakes for a weekend, free. But peace and quiet did not follow Jesus. Instead, his reputation preceded him into this distant land, and one woman in particular was ready and waiting for him. Her daughter was ill, and like any good and conscientious mother, she was willing to do anything for her child, even break the social and the cultural rights and rules about women, not even speaking to men in public, not to mention arguing with one. Jesus, on the other hand, was not having one of his best days. Mark tells us that he wasn't quite up to par in his ability to respond to and take care of people that morning. I know the feeling. It's happened to me once in a while. I remember one morning a couple of years ago when I was on my way to the hospital. And this particular morning, I was going to the hospital for myself instead of making a call on someone else to have a stress test, which ended up with an emergency admission for some cardiac care. Even before the test, I knew myself that something was wrong inside my chest. I'd gotten to the point where I could not carry my laptop up the stairs to our apartment without having chest pain. And so I was a little anxious that morning, and I had a few things on my mind in my own life. I made the big mistake of stopping here at the church that morning, and sure enough, I ran into someone who took me off guard. My response wasn't quite my pastoral best, even a little under my ministerial mediocre. And that is where Jesus was that day. His response was less than ministerial mediocre. His response to the woman's request for help for her daughter was, it's not right to take children's bread and feed it to the dogs. The meaning here is that the gifts he bore were for the Jewish people and not for the Gentiles, like this woman. There's no way around it. What we are seeing here is Jesus' bad side on a bad day. And what we're also seeing is that Jesus is human. And that's something that we should neither be embarrassed about, or should we try to ignore. The mother, however, was not about to let go. And I think this story is really about her more than it is about Jesus. She came right back with her comment that even the dogs get some crumbs under the table, and that even a crumb would be good enough for her. This woman didn't give up on Jesus just because he was having a bad day, or because he had insulted her. How often do we give up on another person for much, much less? She persisted, and she won. And because of her, everybody won. In this story, there were no losers. I think that Jesus himself was probably embarrassed and humiliated by the exchange. But this low moment in his spiritual life and ministry is also presented by Mark as a critical, thin place in his life and his ministry. The persistent mother pushes a whole new direction into Jesus' ministry. A whole new reality opens up for him because of her. Indeed, he is refreshed and he is renewed in this place, but not the way he expected to be, or what we would have expected. Such is the way the Spirit moves. Mark indicates the importance of this moment by where he places this story in his gospel. The story about the Syrophoenician woman is located smack dab in the middle between two stories of Jesus miraculously feeding thousands of people. In Mark 6, we have the familiar story of Jesus feeding 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. And when it's over, there are 12 baskets full of fish and bread left over. in Mark 8, on the other side of the story about the persistent mother, we have the second feeding story in Mark of 4,000 people being fed with 7 loaves and a few small fish, with 7 baskets left over at the end. These stories that bookmark the story that we had for our scripture this morning are very similar, but built into them are significant differences. The difference is in the blessing. In Mark 6:41, the blessing at the first feeding of the multitude is described in this way. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. At the second feeding in Mark 8, the blessing is described in this way. And he took the 7 loaves, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. The first blessing in Mark 6 is described as a typical Jewish table blessing. He looked up to heaven, and he blessed and broke the loaves. The second blessing in Mark 8 is described differently. What is described here can be the description of any common blessing shared by many Gentiles according to their non-Jewish traditions. He took the 7 loaves, and having given thanks, broke them. The first multitude was a crowd of Jewish people. The second crowd is far more inclusive, and Jesus' blessing acknowledges that indeed the bread on the table is for all. No one is to be considered a dog, and that even those formerly thought of as dogs now have a place at God's table too. Life-altering, direction-changing places, then places that turn us around, can happen. I think that knowing that is one of the rewards of acknowledging and becoming acquainted with Jesus' humanity, because it happened for him. This Jesus invites all of us, with all of our flaws, with all of our weaker moments, with all of our regrets and wishes that we didn't say this or we should have said that, to come to his table and take from it, not just the crumbs under it, but from the living bread on top of it. Come, be fed, and be whole.